everyone.
Yeah, I think it's time.
Morning, good afternoon, um, good evening, everyone. Welcome. My name is Shahida Suleiman. I'm the Hub Coordinator for the Somali Humanitarian Hub. And I welcome you to this session. I hope it's going to be interactive. Our session today is on a networked approach to accountability. And taking us together in the session today, I'm delighted to be joined. Alejandra adds she's from the Guatemala Hub. She sits as the Hub coordinator, but also has a role as a member of the Hub Health Check Committee. Alejandra will be sharing some insights on locally led accountability tools. I'm also joined in this panel by Muhammad Taimur Saqib. He is with the Qatar charity. And he, along with our final panelist today, H.M. Shahid from UNDRR Bangladesh, will be both bringing in a bit more context specific experiences on bottom up approaches to accountability. Like I said, I would like for us to have a bit of an interactive session. So to get us started, I'd like to hear a little bit from all of you. There's a QR code that's going to be popping up on the screen now. If you could please share it on the slides. Yes, that's it. Thank you. So if you could please, so scan the QR code, and I'm sure my chat moderator is going to also share the link to Menti along with the code. And we have a question that's going to pop up. The question is just asking, what is one word that you associate with accountability? What is one word you associate with network accountability? So I see the link has been popped into the chat. Feel free to share your reflections on this, and the mentee will run throughout sessions. So later in the session, I'll come back and just sort of see what has popped up from this. I also would like to let you know to share, please feel free to share any questions that you may have throughout the session. We'll come back to that as we wrap up. So Gadoni is here very much supporting with that. And with that, I'm going to quickly start us off. So why accountability? Why this discussion around accountability, and why now? Since this morning, since Assembly launched, I think all of us have had this word going around change. The sector is changing. Whether this is voluntary or involuntary is up to debate. Some of it is forced, some of it is from active actions that we've been putting in place. And we're in the middle of multiple discussions and conversations. We've had about the humanitarian reset, rethink, the future of aid, system change. And in this shift that is happening, accountability has to be an. As we discuss more about locally led action, shifting the power and decision making closer to people on the front lines, accountability is what will ensure that this shift is real. Without it, localization risks being symbolic and tokenistic. With it, communities' local actors can genuinely shape priorities, influence decisions, and also drive outcomes that very much affects them. So this brings us to the focus of the session today, a networked approach to accountability. Accountability cannot be delivered by a single organization, institution. This has to be a collective responsibility. Government and government agencies, local partners, affected communities, all working together, sharing their learnings, and more importantly, holding each other to higher standards. So what is networked accountability, and why networked accountability? So a networked approach to accountability would ensure that accountability is multi-directional. So it's not just top bottom, but also bottom up, also horizontal, is value driven, and is embedded in this discussion and this vision that we have on systems change. 4 levels are critical for this approach. We have locally led accountability, We cannot have accountability without communities at the heart of it, where we are co-creating the tools. These tools are informed by local context and are aligned with existing structures and knowledge, ensuring that they stay relevant, are effective, and are truly owned by the people that they serve. Bottom-up accountability. This is putting communities at the center through robust feedback, complaints, and response mechanisms that enable co-creation, participation, learning, and action. We're going to hear a bit more from Taimur and Shahid on this. Horizontal accountability. This is anchored on trust, shared commitment among peers and members, enabling mutual accountability for shared goals and success. Alejandra is going to speak to us a little bit around this peer accountability mechanisms that she and I are part of as Top Health Share Committee within Start Network. And then finally, ethical accountability should be driven by ethics, a principle that ensures strict adherence to the co-created values and non-negotiable standards across the networks. So I know that was a mouthful, and I don't want to speak at you. I would like to perhaps begin unpacking the session. And what does this look like in practice? First, I would like to pass it on to Alejandra. I hope all of you have switched on your interpretation. So Alejandra is going to, I'd like to invite her to just speak to us a little bit on some of the insights on locally led accountability tools. Alejandra, over to you.
Hola a todas y a todos, un gusto saludarles. Soy de Guatemala, específicamente del Hub de Guatemala, y en esta ocasión, como lo menciona Shahida, pues vamos a discutir y vamos a también tener un diálogo sobre lo que es una rendición de cuentas localizada. Y pues también mencionar que en la rendición de cuentas localizada también contamos con herramientas que nos apoyan para poder cumplir al 100% la transparencia, la confianza de una red de redes. Como bien saben, la rendición de cuentas se basa en la confianza y sobre todo el apoyo y los valores compartidos como red de redes. Asimismo, también quiero mencionar que damos prioridad a los enfoques socializados y dirigidos por pares. Y también el Comité de Control de Salud, que es el Whole Health Check, mantiene una rendición de cuentas cerca de las comunidades y también el impulso de una responsabilidad mutua es algo que también nosotros como comité priorizamos y enfatizamos al momento de poder interactuar entre nosotros y para los demás. Esta sesión pues ofrece una oportunidad de poder compartir algunos principios que impulsan la rendición de cuentas en una red de redes. Y acá puedo mencionar una de las herramientas con las que contamos, que es el código de conducta para los hubs. Y en este código de conducta, pues quiero resaltar algunos principios y, pues sobre todo valores que lo resaltan y pues que esto podemos decir que ayuda a una rendición de cuentas clara. Está, por ejemplo, que siempre ponemos a las personas en primer lugar. También somos valientes, actuamos colectivamente, somos inclusivos, somos abiertos, somos éticos, y pues esto se enmarca y se describe en cada uno de los apartados que tenemos en el código de conducta. Otro ejemplo también de las herramientas en las que contamos es una rendición de cuentas mutua, quiere decir entre pares, y pues el objetivo de esta rendición de cuentas entre pares es poder ayudarnos mutuamente y poder también compartir las experiencias que nosotros tenemos entre cada uno de los espacios para poder resaltar que nosotros como organizaciones también locales, nacionales e internacionales tenemos diferentes perspectivas, tenemos diferentes experiencias de una rendición de cuentas. Entonces, cómo esto se va a englobar en que poder trabajar colectivamente es una forma también de poder caminar hacia un futuro de una rendición de cuentas más clara, más transparente, que es lo que buscamos. También, ¿por qué es importante esta rendición de cuentas? Porque la rendición de cuentas también transmite esta confianza que nosotros queremos, ¿verdad? En todos los espacios de redes. Y también nos ayuda a que la rendición de cuentas nos permita visibilizar el trabajo que estamos haciendo. Asimismo, también un enfoque de aprendizaje es otro punto que nosotros resaltamos en la rendición de cuentas, que quiere decir la integración del aprendizaje en los sistemas de rendición de cuentas. Consideramos, ¿verdad?, que los errores también son oportunidades de mejora y pues que de ello podemos aprender bastante. Y bueno, en este sentido también una rendición de cuentas de abajo hacia arriba es también algo que nosotros resaltamos y también queremos enfocar bastante en esta sesión porque nos permite centrarla y situar a las comunidades en el centro de todos los procesos. Em, este espacio redefine todos estos procesos tradicionales pues que anteriormente se han estado dando y entonces nosotros queremos que la dinámica del poder se da a las comunidades a través de una voz igualitaria. A través de esto, pues nosotros consideramos que la rendición de cuentas pues se fortalece, ¿verdad? Y como nosotros como parte de ello también nos empoderamos y sobre todo visibilizamos este trabajo que estamos haciendo. Bueno, pues por el momento esto es lo que quiero compartir y pues ya más adelante pues tenemos una oportunidad más de poder ampliar, ¿verdad? Y también sobre todo preguntas y respuestas. Gracias, Shahida.
Thank you so much, Alejandra. I am stuck with the phrase that you have stated, work and walk together. Very powerful. And I think what you have underscored is the element of co-creation, an element of shared principles that anchors all of us. But in every point that you raised, always communities at the heart and communities at the center of how we're viewing and how we're moving accountability forward. Thank you so much, Alejandra. I just want to build a little bit on that. And I'd like now maybe to turn to you, Taimur, from Qatar Charity, and also Shahid. Perhaps start with Taimur. And if you could bring perspectives from your different contexts. With you, Taimur, how has networked accountability evolved within your context? What are some of the learnings that have emerged?
Well, thank you very much, Shahida, for giving me an opportunity. And good afternoon, esteemed colleagues, partners, and friends. It's really an honor for me to be here at the Start Network Assembly. As the session is about accountability, normally when we think about accountability, what comes in our mind? Maybe audits, donor reports, compliance, or policies, normally, right? For long, accountability has been seen as top-down exercise where donors are holding the implementers accountable. But that paradigm is in fact shifting, right? I believe accountability is no longer confined to polished reports flowing upward. It now moves in all directions, downwards to the affected communities and sideways to the partners, local institutions, and peers as well. In a nutshell, we can say at its heart, accountability isn't about the paperwork. It's about trust. It's about dignity and shared responsibilities. And most importantly, it's about those who are close to the crisis and having a voice in shaping the solution. And this is what I believe it's bottom-up accountability. Let me share a quick experience of Qatar Charity from one of our projects which was implemented in Kashmir. Qatar Charity was implementing a project of rehabilitation of irrigation water channel. It was a 2-kilometer long irrigation channel through steep mountains in Kashmir. When we started the project, due to heavy rains and some other factors and landslides, sudden landslide, the cost of the project increased, right? And we had to pause the project and to secure some more funds to complete the project in time. That led to the farmer, they started fearing that this pause might affect their upcoming planting season. So what happened, they gathered together, they approached Qatar Charity, and something remarkable happened. They came to us and they said, okay, we will help. We will contribute for material, for labor, and even they offered that they are ready to mobilize local authorities for co-financing. It was amazing for us. We were surprised. So what happened later, they joined together, they contributed, and as a result, we completed the project not only within time, but also within given budget, because there was a contribution from the community. So this example is not just about the efficiency, it is about the ownership, right? It is about the people who joined together to solve their problem, right? It was about the dignity and the people, they were driving their own future. So I believe accountability shouldn't only sit around with the donors, it must include communities, partners, peers. That is what we call bottom-up accountability in real sense. But the point is, when we, why do we need to have a bottom-up network approach towards accountability? Why there's a need for that? I think the main reason is it connects communities and organizations, enable them to share knowledge, responsibilities, and resources to solve the problems collectively. Those, as I mentioned earlier, close to the crisis often have the deepest insight and the strongest motivation to act, leading to more sustainable and durable solution. When communities join together, they work together, right? And they drive the accountability themselves. We see ownership, we see empowerment, we see the trust, and we see local wisdom and indigenous knowledge shaping the way forward. Let me quote another example, Qatar Charity being a member of START Network, where we were awarded one project. It was funded by START Fund. There was a dengue outbreak in Nepal, and START Fund awarded a project to Qatar Charity, and there were many other activities in that project. One was the distribution of dengue testing kits, right? So there was a certain number of dengue testing kits which we had agreed to distribute in response to that crisis. But when the project started, the situation evolved. Need for the dengue kits grew rapidly, right? The local health department requested for an expansion of the project, and they requested to increase the number. It was almost double they requested the number. We were a bit worried that the project was already allocated, fund was agreed with the donor, everything was done. So a bit concerned that how this will happen in short period of time, because the duration for the project was 45 days. Anyhow, we had discussion with the local people, concerned authorities, health department at district level, as well as at regional level in Nepal. And we coordinated with START, requesting them for the change in the scope of work and to align as per request forwarded by the health department. Amazingly, that request was immediately approved by START, right? And it was done, the project was not only completed within time, but also with a revised, scope of work. And I believe that was an accountability in action. And that was not slowed down by bureaucracy, but it was responsive, adaptive, and deep-rooted in local realities. It showed how trust, shared decision-making, and timely collaboration can deliver the better outcomes. So I think network accountability is about relationships, systems, and cultures that empower everyone to play a meaningful role. Local, regional, and global actors, each with their unique perspective, coming together, not in hierarchy, but also in partnership. And when that happens, accountability is no longer a burden, it becomes a shared living commitment, something that strengthens trust, deepens collaboration, and ultimately makes our collective response more effective, more inclusive, and more human. I also want to quote another experience of Qatar Charity, where we had the privilege of hosting Start Network events in Doha. It was a fellowship training program and Afghanistan hub incubation workshop. So in the beginning, it looks like hosting only 2 events, but when these events were conducted, we saw how these were carried out, and we realized that it was not just a formal gathering with some discussions and other. We found that it became like a living platforms, spaces where people truly learn from one another, exchange experiences, and engaged in open, inclusive dialogue. What made them powerful wasn't just the agenda, it was a mix of people in the room where these 2 events were held. Local organizations brought their voices of their communities. Regional experts offered context-specific insights. International partners like Qatar Charity was hosting, we were providing support to Start Network. So the partners connected global resources with local realities. And as a result, local voices were not only heard, but regional expertise were also valued. Collaborative solutions began to emerge even. So while concluding my discussion, I think accountability can no longer remain a top-down exercise. It must become a network alive, inclusive, and driven by the trust. It must empower communities. It must even strengthen the partnerships, and it must foster learning across all levels. If we embrace this bottom-up network approach, accountability will no longer be felt like a burden or a bureaucratic requirement. Instead, it will become a source of legitimacy, resilience, and humanity, helping us respond faster, work smarter, and build future shaped by the affected population we aim to serve. So with all that, I conclude my discussion. Over to you, Shahida. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Taimur. So much to reflect on here. I'm trying to also take notes for my own self, but I think before I invite Shahid, what has really underpinned your discussion has been the issue of trust and accountability being about relationships, about learning, about growth, so that at the end of it, we are tying our global resources to what is to local realities and with the communities at the center. So thank you so much for those reflections. You're still not off the hook. I will be coming back to you with a number of questions after this, but perhaps let me invite you, Shahid, to maybe come in and also speak to us about some of the emerging principles that are shaping bottom-up or network accountability in Bangladesh, and how are you putting this in practice?
Thank you, Shahida and Taimur and colleagues. Good morning, good afternoon from different parts of the world. So today, I want to highlight the critical role of accountability to affected populations. We call it accountability to affected populations based on our experience in Bangladesh. Obviously, where the reinforcements of ethical, inclusive, and responsive humanitarian action in the middle. And while I am delivering my experience, it will be mostly in the context of a network that is fully loaded on the humanitarian coordination or humanitarian setting. So in this context, which is marked by different disaster, displacement, complex vulnerabilities, like in this context, accountability is just not a luxury; it's a fundamental commitment. So while I'm sharing the experience based on the on current coordination architecture in Bangladesh. So I'll speak a little bit about the current coordination architecture in Bangladesh that will help to for a better and broader understanding. So in Bangladesh, the humanitarian coordination actually led by Humanitarian Coordination Trustee, which is one of the largest humanitarian collaboration between government and non-government stakeholders in Bangladesh. So it is actually led by Minister of Disaster Management, which is NDM in Bangladesh, and co-led by UN Resident Coordinator Office in Bangladesh. So under this coordination structure, there are 10 clusters. You all know cluster sector like food security, health, nutrition, and all that. And there are 6 working groups. So accountability to affected population is one of the 6 working groups to actually work through all the clusters to ensure the accountability in the all sphere of humanitarian coordination of humanitarian work environment. So just trying to highlight few things. Like humanitarian response is just not delivering aid, but about respecting with dignity, then agency and priorities to affected communities. So this is also in our mind when we're going to implementing a humanitarian project and response for them. And also the accountability is aligned with the core humanitarian standards. Then Greenberg 2.0 ISC commitments, and which also reflected in our accountability to affected population working group. So where the strategic role of it is very clear, which is actually a technical working group that ensure coordination and the backbone of the accountability that embedded across the humanitarian program cycle in Bangladesh. Then why this is we call it more effective, because in this coordination architecture you will find all types of stakeholders, start from international NGO, national NGOs, local NGOs, even Start Network is also part of this coordination program, then UN agencies and all that. So when we deliver, we want to deliver something regarding accountability. It's easier to deliver horizontally, like to everyone from bottom to from bottom to and at the grassroots level. So this is a very like efficient strategic role of accountability to affect the population working within Bangladesh. Secondly, there are several tools like for AP tools, then mainstream gender and disability inclusion, also strengthen the PSA protocols throughout the humanitarian response. All are embedded in that. If you see the TOR about accountability to working groups, all are embedded in this in the overall terms of references of AAP in Bangladesh. Then these are the strategic roles of accountability to affected population in Bangladesh. Now I am going to speak a little bit about the operational contributions of accountability to affected population working within Bangladesh. So first is, for example, I'll start with some recent examples. This year, with the help of accountability to affected population working group and anticipated action technical working group, we developed common early warning messages for flood-prone affected populations, which was we developed 27 messages, which was addressing all the issues, and also it was endorsed by central government. The idea behind this exercise, so when we speak something, when we're delivering something, that ensure everything, and that include everyone, and we speak in a same language to everyone, and including governments. So this was done this year. The second thing is I want to mention, in Bangladesh, we regularly do humanitarian response plan, mostly for 6 years. And if you see the document and the response plan, when it's actually a clusterized plan for the like in a certain period, how much they target and how much they need. So in each and every cluster page, you will see how the cluster also ensured that how they will maintain the standards of that they maintain the standards of accountability toward the response work. So this is like if you see our document, it's everywhere. Then I go to the after action review. So once the response is completed, then we also, through this working group, we also try to see where we are in terms of accountability, where we are in terms of implementation, our projects when we like with dignity and also accountability in the center. Then another thing is like complaint and feedback response mechanism. So how these things will be ensured, how the referral mechanism or referral pathways will be there. So this all sort of things actually we embedded in our response planning, and we also monitor these things, and also after the event, we also measure ourselves so where we are and how much we are able to achieve as per our plan. So these are the operational contribution of accountability to affected population working both in Bangladesh. And just last thing, in Bangladesh also, I'm not saying that we are all good, but still it's like accountability means complaint. It's the complaint box, but which is not. But it is enabling an effective, inclusive humanitarian response in Bangladesh. And this working group offers a ready-made coordinate structure to coordinate, learn, and adapt collectively. So by investing accountability to affected population working group or some, especially in a network in a network structure, it ensures the culture of transparency, responsiveness, and resilience, and ultimately improving our outcomes. That outcomes as a humanitarian outcome. So let's ensure accountability is not peripheral. Rather, it should be central on humanitarian coordination. And together we can build a humanitarian system that ensure accountability and that also listen, learns, and leads to contributing. So with this note, I'm signing off. Thank you all.
Thank you so much, Shahid. Not really signing off, but I thank you so
Just
much
for
for
now.
taking us through when we were talking about the architecture of a networked approach. I think you've really brought this to life in terms of how this is working in Bangladesh and in the coordination system of Bangladesh. And I really, really loved what you said around accountability not just being about the delivery of aid. I think a very powerful statement there. I'm going to sort of shift our conversation a little bit. Um, and I wanted to bring you back in time more. Uh, you know, we keep talking about shifts and changes, but also the number of crises that we as actors in the sector are dealing with keep multiplying, and to a very large extent more than we're able to handle. How do we frame accountability in light of all of this that's happening in the sector, as well as marrying it with the conversations around the future of aid? How do we frame accountability in these discussions? I know we had a little bit about this in the morning in the future of aid 2040, but maybe perhaps from your perspective in your operational context as Qatar Charity, how would you frame accountability in these future of aid conversations?
When we are working together, when we consider ourselves not only accountable to the donors, right? As some of our participants mentioned in the earlier session, that it's reporting upward to the donors, right? If we are managing any of our interventions apart from that and including local communities, stakeholders, everyone on board, considering our not only moral professional responsibility, but also giving value to all who are we working for, right? So when we take them on board, we listen to them, we value them, we add their input, we We even coordinate not only vertically, but also horizontally, not only at local level, but also at regional or higher level, as we mentioned that network accountability. So then I think it's more appropriate. Like network accountability also shows that what local actions have been suggested by the affected population are incorporated at policy level or not. A small example like policy about affected population, right? So if you are not bound to be answerable to your affected population at local level, who you're working for, so that means all your accountability is of no use. You're just filing the documents or drafting some fancy reports. But if the intervention is not community driven, if their inputs, if their feedback, if their issues are not taken care, and if their voices are not heard, so that means it's not that much effective. That accountability doesn't work. So I think if it is more participatory, if it is driven at local level, if their voices are heard, so that's the best way to ensure that accountability is in place at all level, from community up to headquarters.
Thank you so much, Taimur. Shahid, perhaps if you wanted to come in also to just contribute to that.
Hello. Same question.
Yes. Yes.
Can you just repeat very quickly?
Sorry, come again.
Can you repeat the question very quickly?
Yes. So the question was around the current space that we're in. We are having a lot of conversations about the future of aid, right? So how would we frame accountability in those conversations about the future of aid? That was the question.
Sorry, I lost your voice. Maybe internet issue. Now, please.
Sorry.
Now, sorry, I lost your voice. Maybe internet issue.
Yes.
Yes, I can
Maybe
hear
just
you.
to come again. Yes, it's around how we would frame accountability in the future of aid conversations. If you could maybe bring in principles that you believe we should hold on to or strengthen.
So thank you. So again, we can do more when all our exercise, all our knowledge, it bring in practice. So, for example, we have policy, we know everything, but how can we ensure the practice? So there are two things. Accountability means accountable. First, to ensure accountability, the implementers, the worker, the people behind the scene need to be accountable first. This is the first one. And the second thing is increase technical knowledge. So technical knowledge first, then let's be accountable people who is working behind the screen, like starting from donor agencies, local NGOs, partners, everyone. So this is the efficient way. But there should be different role for everyone. Like who is local NGOs or who is the implementing partners? They might be follow the guidelines of what is written in the policy. The policy makers like the government, the central government, the people at central level, they need to come up with a strict guideline. So it's like a parallel action. So to ensure accountability in each and every part need to be work like sounded, like from policy, from donor, from implementer. So role might be different, but all of them need to work with this. Like there should be a policy, there should be guideline. Then there should be a strong knowledge there over there. There need to be strong knowledge over there. Then who is implementing? They also need those knowledge to be transferred to the local partners who is implementing. And the last but not the least, the participants, the beneficiaries. We also need to hear from them when we're designing any a framework, any policy, and all that. So you see different roles. So different roles of different stakeholders is it's the way to ensure accountability to each and every sphere of unity and action. So that's it.
Thank you so much, Shahid. I hear you echoing a lot of the sentiments that Taimur brought up around it being participatory. So one of the principles we're bringing very clearly is that the future of accountability is that it has to be participatory and collaborative. And you have really driven home the fact that we have different roles also, and they're shared. And those have to be grounded in shared guidelines and shared values. That's what I've taken. Perhaps to bring in Alejandra on the same questions. And I would also like to open this to you as the audience. Gathoni has kindly pasted the question in the chat. Please feel free to contribute, and then I'll be happy to tie that back as we wind up. So to Alejandra, what do you think? How do you think we should be framing accountability in the future of aid conversations that are happening? And what principles do you believe that we should hold on to or strengthen?
Bueno, en este sentido, la rendición de cuentas debe ser un principio transversal en todo nuestro enfoque de trabajo que hacemos desde las comunidades y para las comunidades. Como lo han mencionado los compañeros, pues el hecho de hablar de rendición de cuentas es también hablar de confianza, hablar de transparencia, para que las comunidades pues sean el centro de ello. Entonces, pues el futuro de este proceso, para que haya una rendición de cuentas clara, ¿verdad? Debe de haber confianza en todos los niveles. Y entonces acá, pues nosotros podemos también demostrar que nosotros estamos haciendo un trabajo, pues que pueda visibilizar la transparencia de cada una de nuestras actividades. Y también quiero resaltar que pues la rendición de cuentas, pues es algo tan práctico, ¿verdad? Que lo podemos ir implementando en cada una de nuestras acciones, dentro de nuestras actividades, como proyectos que tenemos y programas. Y entonces, por ejemplo, cuando nosotros vamos a la comunidad, también es importante que nosotros podamos habilitar ese espacio, ¿verdad? Y cuando hablamos con nuestros socios locales, con nuestros grupos comunitarios, tenemos que tener este espacio de rendición de cuentas y también trasladar esta confianza hacia ellos para que haya una rendición de cuentas mutua. Eso quiere decir que también podamos tener de ambas líneas, pues una retroalimentación que nos pueda ayudar también a poder reconocer que también los aprendizajes, las experiencias nos sirven para poder construir colectivamente este espacio que estamos hoy proponiendo y que también estamos mencionando el día de hoy. Y bueno, pues nosotros como comité, pues únicamente somos un mecanismo de este proceso, ¿verdad? Em, Nosotros pues queremos y reconocemos que la rendición de cuentas pues funciona mejor cuando estamos cerca de las comunidades. De esa forma, pues podemos decir que se enmarca y podemos hablar que la rendición de cuentas en el futuro es llegar más a las comunidades y sobre todo habilitar este espacio.
Thank you so much, Alejandra. I had you bringing us back to the principle of trust as a principle that we should hold on to as we're discussing within this space of accountability, and particularly networked approach to accountability. And also, I've had you you have really articulated accountability being a space of learning and sharing experiences. So thank you so much for that. It's really not just about holding each other to book, but also a space, earlier you had mentioned, of making mistakes, but also of coming back and learning and sharing those experiences. So we are better able to serve the communities who we work for and work with. I see questions have started coming in. Thank you so much. And Shahid, there's a question for you in the chat. And please feel free to continue engaging with us in the chat. So your question is, in what ways are affected communities involved in setting accountability standards and measuring whether they are met? And if you could share an example. So this is from Fakhrul Islam. He's asking, in what ways are affected communities involved in setting accountability standards and measuring whether they are met?
So if I understood correctly, the question is how we can engage the community when we're talking about any accountability measures, right? So I'll go directly with one example. Like when we're talking about feedback mechanism, right? So we know the standard process, like when there will be an issue, they will write something and drop it in the complaint box. So this is our experience. But the question is when we will like prepare or develop something, like how complaint and feedback reference should be in a ideal setting of a humanitarian action, then first we need to discuss it community. So this is simple. So when you're planning for something which is related to ensure accountability, and also transparency, then like you need to ask community first how community thinks. Even if you think you cannot get answer directly, then you need to design something indirectly, like ask community, talk with community, and speak them in a way so that you will get to know the underlying thought behind of the community. So this is a simple thing. So when you design something, first you need to meet with community, and also there is thousands of ways to connect with the local community, especially particularly in Bangladesh. Even Start Network has a member in each and every part of the Bangladesh. So, for example, if Start Network is want to create something like that for their response, they can directly reach out to the community and design first from the community voice, they'll design something, then validate at national level. So this is simple as I am speaking right now. So first one, speak with community. What is their perception? Based on that, design something and then validate at national level. So this is how we can do anything related to accountability, like complete feedback mechanism, referral pathways, even if it's message, early warning message development, everything. Yeah, over.
Thank you so much, Shahid. We have another question for Fakhrul, and thank you so much for this question. Perhaps I can push it to you, Taimur, in terms of how do you monitor whether affected communities actually trust complaint mechanisms and feel safe using them, right? So there is a second part of this question, but perhaps let's address the first as we slowly come to a wrap up of our session. How would you monitor whether affected communities actually trust complaint mechanisms and whether they feel safe using them?
Mainly it depends on the action you are performing in the community. First of all, how do you work there? Do you have a strong, deep-rooted, deep roots in the communities or not? And the system you have developed there, designed there. And how much participation is from the community? How much trust do they have on you? And of course, policies, procedures are already there. It depends how they are practically implemented or not in the ground. Again, while coming back to whether local communities actually trust on the complaint mechanism and they feel safe while making any complaint, again, as Shahid mentioned, there are certain procedures like we should have these complaint boxes, toll-free contact number, right? When I speak about Qatar Charity, we have all these measures in the ground. The local community, they not only have access to our country office in any country of operation, but also they have direct access to headquarters. And that access, the focal person is working independently and he ensures that all the complaints are not only met, but also there's a regular follow-up from headquarters as well as from the field office down at the field level in the community. So these actions help us to build a trust from the community, and they feel safe while making any complaint. We had certain examples where certain concerns were raised by some during our interventions, and those were not only kept secret, but also necessary actions were taken. There's a complaint mechanism. There was a complaint registered being, maintained. What follow-ups have been, what actions have been taken on that, and based on that, we believe there was some not only follow-up but also action taken, but also some that build a trust at community level as well. So all these factors help us to ensure that the person who is complaining, he feels safe while making any lodging any complaint, not only by through Dropbox, but also through direct access to country office as well as to headquarters. Do you want me to answer for the second as well, or?
Yes, go ahead. Go ahead, Taimur. If you can keep it to 1 minute so that we can start wrapping up.
Again, it's a follow-up. We have a complaint register, which is, being monitored by not only at country office, there's a focal person for that, but also at headquarters, a separate section who is dealing independent of everyone, right? And he is even reporting directly to our CEO, any complaint, any action taken or not. So that ensures that system is in place and it is working independently of anyone, be it country director or in headquarters, anyone, senior staff, but he is directly reporting to CEO. So that really help us to gain a confidence from the field anywhere across globe where we have 33 field offices. We had a very good experience when we started this thing. So the people that started trusting more and they were launching the complaint, no matter anonymous or whatever. So this way we build a trust at community level. And we believe that it satisfied their complaints and feedback mechanism.
Thank you so much, Taimur. I see there is a question that Salama has brought forward. In the interest of time, Salama, I'm going to leave your question as something that we take away to think about. I see it as a very strategic question in terms of, even as we're framing these discussions, are we saying that we're deprioritizing accountability? How do we ensure that that doesn't really happen? As we started the session, for those who joined us early, we had a question on Menti, just asking, what is one word that you associate with network accountability? And I see we got a couple of responses, and I can see a lot of convergence on some points around trust, which was also very much spoken by the panelists this afternoon, around it being mutual. So it's about relationships. I see it around peers, that it's not just top, bottom, or bottom, top, but it also cuts across. Taimur used a very nice word. He said sideways, and I really like that. Ownership, that it is honest, which speaks again to the principles around this. Someone said together is stronger than doing it alone. So where we're saying it is collective, no one actor can hold accountability on their own. It has to be something that's shared. I think Shahid spoke very well about this being. Everyone has different roles, but it's a shared responsibility. So thank you so much. Oh, someone said a critical friend. Yes, that friend that will always tell you the truth even when you don't want to hear it. So thank you so much for this. We have just 6 minutes to wrap, and perhaps giving each of the panelists just a final 30 seconds to speak on accountability as we leave. What would you like to leave the audience thinking about? Just 30 seconds each. I'll start with the Taimur. So you're the last letter of the alphabet, then to Shahid, and then so over to you.
I think in a nutshell, if I say we should engage local communities at all levels, starting from planning phase, right? Normally what it comes at a later stage during the implementation, we go ask how it is being happened. I believe it should start at planning phase. They should be involved during our planning stage, where it will be considered as a community driven, right, with a strong voice. And of course, when it starts from that level, ultimately it reaches to all level, where each and everyone at local level, community level, affected population, they will not only own the project, but they will also be very confidently involved at all stages, as it was mentioned, level of trust. So when you start engaging them from the beginning, so definitely it will bring a good fruit.
Thank you so much. Bring a good, like Shahid.
So, I'll start with one thing. I also mentioned earlier. So accountability sometimes very challenging because of us. Us means who are behind the screen. So first thing first, we need to accountable first, the people working behind the screen. So then actually there are 3 steps. So first one is shared thing with everyone. Then there should be proper coordination or channel starting from bottom to ground. And then the engagement and community. So if we consider these 3 things in the center of accountability, then I think we can ensure the accountability to affected population. And also there is as a humanitarian worker, as a humanitarian project management thing perspective, we also need to think about the people at first. When you think about the people first, then accountability will come automatically. Like for whom you are working. Okay, you are working for the community, right? So if you are working for the community, are we able to deliver them with the dignity, with the respect, with the transparency, everything? So first accountable ourselves, then maintain the coordination, increase knowledge, and then this community. So that's what I said.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Shahid. In the words of Michael Jackson, start with the man in the mirror. Accountability starts with ourselves. Alejandra?
Bueno, pues ya finalizando, puedo mencionar también que hay un enfoque tradicional que ha estado utilizando desde muchos años atrás, que pues únicamente la rendición de cuentas a los donantes, ¿verdad? Pero también quienes reciben el fondo puede ser que no llegan hasta las comunidades y pues su rendición de cuentas es desde un lente muy alejado a las comunidades. Entonces, dejo esto como reflexión que es importante cambiar la dinámica de cómo estamos utilizando estos fondos, de cómo estamos interactuando para que las comunidades sean el centro de este proceso.
Bueno, gracias, Alejandra. Thank you so much. As we wrap up, we just have 1 minute. I think I want to bring us back to the beginning of the session where I said the sector is changing. Whether this change is voluntary or involuntary, it is changing. Alejandra has reminded us that peer accountability is about trust and collective commitments. For peer accountability to work, we must be brave to address power dynamics within our system. Timur has brought home that networked accountability is about partnerships, cultures, relationships, and systems where ultimately global resources are tied. Shahid has really said that accountability is not just delivery. Accountability is not a luxury, but a fundamental. And he has brought home that we each have diverse roles, but a shared goal, shared values, shared guidelines. So thank you all so much for joining us today for the session on the networked approach on accountability. I think very enlightening, very important conversations that I believe we're going to continue having in our respective spaces. We should not end here. Thank you once again. And just with a couple of seconds to close, wishing you a great rest of the day.